High School Hoops Talk with your boy E. Tally. I got a very special guest I've been trying to get on for a long time. He finally made time for me. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hey, my name's Andrew Brewer. I'm the head boys basketball coach at Alamo Heights High School in San Antonio.
Coach, I want to say thank you again for allowing us to have this time with you, to let the community know a little bit more about you and what you're doing over there at Alamo Heights. So
Great.
can
Looking
you go
forward
ahead
to
and
it.
just
Happy
can
to
you
be
just
here.
talk about yourself a little bit? I know you probably gonna be like, I don't want to talk about myself, but I just need you just to kind of elaborate a little bit. Like how long you've been there?
Okay. Well, I have been at Alamo Heights for 19 years. When I first got here, I was the freshman coach for my high school coach, Charlie Bogus. I was his freshman coach for 5 years. And then I took over in 2011, 2012. So I just finished 14 years as the head coach here. Previous to that, I was the JV coach at Hightower High School for 2 years and had an incredible opportunity to work under David Peavy, who needs no introduction, and was able to coach a McDonald's All-American, DJ Augustine there. So those experiences were priceless for me. But we started having kids, and I'm a San Antonio guy. My wife's from Kerrville, so we wanted to get back closer to here. I wanted to be a head coach. I was 30 at that point, and I wanted to be a head coach. So the opportunity came to come back home and work for my mentor, Charlie Bogus. And then my career started. I'm working backwards. Career started in Dallas in 2000, and I was a coach at the Winston School, TAPS 3A school in Dallas at the corner of the Tollway and Royal Lane, and that was just getting my just cutting my teeth as a classroom teacher and as an assistant coach, and then for 2 years the head coach. So that was just me. That was just being able to do it all a little bit. Be an assistant, be a head coach, coach a little junior high, be in the classroom, figure out what works in the classroom, what doesn't. And I've had a great run. I've been, my wife and I have been blessed with great communities, and now here I am, 49, and going into year 15 as the head coach at the place where I went to high school. So it's a really special job. I mean, incredibly blessed to be where I am and have the success that we've had. It's just a joy. I mean, every day it's kind of, we get tired in June because, man, I'm still coaching. I got camps to work and coach TABC, and now I've had, full week off, and I'm like kind of rudderless. I'm so thankful that I got to come up to the school and record a podcast with you to give me something to do and keep me engaged, because you miss it. I mean, it gets its claws into you, and it's kind of addictive. So I appreciate the opportunity to share what little success we've had, and talk about the landscape in general in San Antonio, the high school basketball.
And I think I keep telling people, I came here as far as being in the military, and I got stationed here back in 2015, and I've been the AAU side, just the youth part as far as the little grassroots, I'm gonna say, excuse me, and I think from that time to now, I think we're in a great place, and you are one of the directors. I would call you guys directors of the orchestra, and you're making sure that happens to where our basketball becomes really, really good. And I think we're heading in the right direction as far as a city, being a small city that's number 7 in population, but we're still small in reference to how we do things. But and I think you being one of the directors, you're heading us in the right direction, and you making the playoffs or the state tournament last year really shows that right there.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the compliment, and I think that there are. This is a great place, and I've always thought that if you stay at a place like Alamo Heights, and if you really, really work at it, you got a puncher's chance to get out of the region 2 or 3 times over a 20-year span. It's just because you know what you're going to get. You have hardworking kids, and you got to know your place, right? And fit is a thing, and you have to understand your kids and your place. And the guys who are really getting it done, the high school programs in San Antonio that are really getting it done, they have some talent, but also you have coaches that understand, how I'm going to be successful at Alamo Heights might be different than how I'm going to be successful playing at Vets or at Wagner or Jefferson or O'Connor. Like, every place is a little bit different, And I think that's a special thing about Alamo Heights is when I came to San Antonio from Houston. So I was the JV coach in Houston, and I would coach a JV game, and the opposing coach would make maybe an adjustment, like he'd jump into a press and get out of it, or go half court man and then maybe play a little zone. But you wasn't a lot of adjustments. When I came to San Antonio and I was the freshman coach at here for 5 years, I mean, it was like a chess match on the freshman level, night in, night out. That was the thing I was immediately impressed with about San Antonio, is the coaching is just really exceptional. And it's guys who really work at it, guys who don't do the same thing year after year. They're always, I was talking to Brett Jowasko at O'Connor, and we scrimmage them every year, and he's doing something different every single year, because it's your foundation. I think you asked me this in Dallas, like the foundation is the same for us, but you have to add wrinkles here and there to steal a bucket. And that's what Coach Bogus used to always talk about. Like, how can we steal a bucket here, steal a bucket there? And that's one of the things about San Antonio that keeps you on your toes constantly, is the coaches just do such a great job. You have to be on your toes after every timeout, beginning of a quarter, end of a quarter. You better get the last shot, because if you don't get the last shot of a quarter or a half, the other coach is going to get a bucket. And that's one of the invigorating things about coaching here in San Antonio, is that, man, you've really got to be prepared. And all the districts I've been in, the coaches in SAISD are incredible. They don't always get the love because they don't have the depth of talent year in, year out that other districts do. But man, those guys are crazy prepared. So there was absolutely no drop off. We've gone from Hill Country to SAISD and back, and now you throw in the Judson ISD schools in our district, and there's no drop off. And I don't really care where you go. I mean, you're gonna. And I haven't played a ton in Northeast and North Side against those teams a ton, but they're really good too. So that's it's an I guess that's the word. It's invigorating and just a fun place to be.
It is, and I think one of these eventually one of these times we're gonna have that representation like we're supposed to where we're 6A winners and 5A winners and 4A winners, and they see it, because I just know the talent that's coming through the city, and I'm watching it. I'm seeing these young guys want it. They're hungrier, and it's going to be awesome. And I thought last year, honestly, was a great representation last year. We had Cole, we had you guys, we had Brennan, and we had Harlan.
Yep.
So again, that right there alone just said, hey, we're coming, we're inching closer and closer. So
yeah, and one of the things I've come to the realization that, like, I like to win, and I think one of the things I've come to terms with is you and I'm way late to the game, and I realize that, but you play. We need to, at Alamo Heights, we're gonna have to do a better job. I have to do a better job going forward of playing the teams that you're going to see if you get to the regional tournament and then the state level.
right.
We have to play, and we've done a little bit better. We're going forward. We played Westlake, a few times, and we're going to play Westlake again. And, we're going to have to kind of maybe look at what we do in the summer, because, when we played, and I should have learned, like, we played Fort Bend Marshall in the first round. And then it didn't take long. Like when you play in the playoffs, you watch a lot of film, but you learn a lot in the first 3 minutes of the ball game. Like, oh, what are they really this big? Are they really this long? Well, we didn't have much left in our bag, if you will, once we got down 17-3, because we hadn't seen that level of athleticism. When you combine the athleticism with their physicality, we hadn't seen enough of it. So I think what you're talking about is how do we get to state and then win a game? And we've been to state 3 times since I've been here. Coach Bogus went twice. He got to the state finals once in 91. But in order to win a game, that means you got to beat somebody from Houston or Dallas.
Yes.
In order to do that, what are we going to do the rest of the year so that we're ready for that? Now, I know that kids are playing on our kids, our club are playing AAU. They're playing on a a nationwide level against nationwide competition. But you know as well as I do that, club basketball is more of an offensive showcase to
Yes.
get kids to the next level. You're not seeing defense the way it's played, on Tuesday night in February in the Mule Dome with a playoff spot on the line. Like, we don't have the length or the athleticism, but we're going to guard you, and we've got to see that more. And so I got to do a better job of preparing us. You try to look 2 or 3 years down the road. Like, you don't want to. It's kind of delicate, right? We have 1,600 students. We have to have some multi-sport athletes to be successful, but you don't pick. You don't want to play Westlake on the wrong year because we're going to lose by 30. But you got to pick teams in the right year that can build confidence, and you have a chance maybe to win or at least keep it close. That'll give you an opportunity in March maybe to win a game. So that's the balancing act and the scheduling that we have to do. Like you're alluding to, how do you get to state and win a game? And that's where I am. Before I'm out of here, like, I want to get to state and win a game, maybe 2. And that's what we got to kind of always evolve and really have a good feel for the kids you have coming, and what you can do as the coach to prepare them to be as successful as they can be in a season.
And to be honest with you, Coach, that's why I put you in that category with the coaches that I think really do a great job for the city, the Noe Cantus, the Cole Gills, the Rodney Clarks, because you're always trying to get ahead of not. I'm not gonna say the system, because like you just said, the system changes by your personnel, but of the game that's being played.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's a chess game. So in watching you last year, I think I want to give you your flowers. I think you showed last year how you really break this all down. So if I was a parent and I had a 5th grader coming up in your ISD, I know for sure, as long as you're going to be there, I'm going to be okay. And the reason I say that is because I looked at your like you just said, you came from San Antonio ISD, coming in there, and you went to me, in my opinion, the hardest district to play in, and look at how you played. I think you played the way you were supposed to play. You got your guys ready to play. You had a nice schedule prior to, and then look at the results. The results.
Yeah, and you got to balance it, right? I mean, like you mentioned, we saw at the San Antonio Christian tournament where we were pushed a little bit, but we won all the games, most of them by double figures. So, rhetorical question I ask myself is, can we keep going to that tournament? Right. Or like, I ain't going to the Whataburger. I'm not going to Dr. Black. We're not doing that. Because you losing by 30 can be demoralizing. Right. It's hard as a coach when you lose by 30 and say, guys, we're right there.
Right.
You play. We played Westlake and lost by 1. So this year I was like, no, we are right there. We're right there.
Right.
So some years that's not the case. You can't go to Westlake. Yeah, you got to be on your toes. Lazy coaches will be taken advantage of for sure.
So it kind of goes to my first question. I told you we're going to kind of go all over a little bit, but the setup is there. Let's talk about some of the players you have returning. You have 2 of them that I really, again, I got a chance to follow, and I'm really watching with a good eye of the high school side of it. And I think they're really good high school basketball players that both have an opportunity to play at the next level. That's my opinion. And that's your son, and that's Elliot. Can you talk about them a little bit and some of the other players that we need to know about, so that way we can get eyes on those guys?
For sure. It starts with Alex. Alex is 6'5", bouncy. I'm going to guess 215, 200-pounder. He can guard a 5 at the high school level. He can shoot it. He can handle it. He can do it all. He's a really hard worker. He is just the best kid. And you say the best kid, like, this is basketball. And if you're not a great kid, you're just not gonna make it. Like, we just don't have to keep you. So that goes without saying. All the kids are, I got a daughter who's going to be a junior in college, and like, she could date all these guys. I would allow that. They're all great kids. So, but Alex is no exception. He is a tireless worker. He's hungry, and that gives me a lot of confidence in our season. Is one of the things I say over and over and over again is to my guys is, if all you care about is team success, you got a chance to be special. And Alex wants to play in college, so he knows he's got to get his, but he knows also that if you go 3 or 4 rounds in the playoffs, you got a lot more eyes on you. So even if you don't have a great game, but you're playing in front of a lot of people, he's got a chance. So I think it starts with him. I'm gonna talk about another couple of seniors, like Willie Whittingstall is a tremendous competitor. He wants to win. He can finish. He can shoot it. He's an excellent player. DK Garza plays football, and he'll probably play college football as a running back. But he really is an elite on-ball defender. You didn't get a chance to see him probably much this year because he played football, and then he was working with a hamstring during TABC and didn't get to play. But he's tremendous. Joseph Godishek does a great job. He's athletic. He can shoot it. And then Gavin Peterson has been on the varsity for 2 years. So those are our seniors. Now, I got 2 other returning guys, and I'll get to Jack. But, Harrison Taylor will be our probably play R5. We want kind of a Princeton-style offense where it's not really a back-to-the-basket guy, but kind of guy who catches at the slot and sets ball screens and rolls. And he's got great timing. He's a great rebounder. He can finish. And then Jack, is returning. He was a part-time. My son Jack Brewer. He was a part-time starter last year. He averaged 6. On a team that won 30 games. So even though he averaged 6, he got an incredible amount of experience and kind of some battle scars. From not playing a lot early in the year to starting to not playing very much at the end of the year. And so he's got those battle scars, and he's really, really, really hungry. He's been in the gym with me since he can remember. And he was around, in 2012 when we went to state. And then, although he was 3, and then in 18, he was around when we went to state, and then he got to taste it this year. So I have been impressed with him just because, listen, like, do I wish he had a part-time job bagging groceries at HEB and learn how to be? Yes, I wish he did. But if you want to be a college player, you got to put in the time. And if he weren't putting in the time, he'd be at HEB bagging groceries, learning how to be a man and how to have a job. But he's not, but he is working really hard. He trains. He's shooting constantly. He's playing on this little New Balance circuit. So he's playing a ton, and he's hungry. And he just says, "Daddy, I just want to play basketball as long as I can, until the world tells me it's over." And it's been a special relationship for me. I'm not that smart, but I'm smart enough to know that at home I'm dad, and if I tell him something at home, he ain't gonna listen. So I don't coach him. We talk basketball constantly. We're always talking basketball, but I only coach him in practice. So then I think that has been a good way to kind of solidify there's never really clean break. I'm always coach and I'm always dad, but those are the times when I use the opportunity to coach him, and that's in practice and in games only. So I'm excited. I love all of our guys. I think we have a chance to be really good again. We got to figure out some positions and where we're going to put guys in key places, but I got a great staff, and we'll figure that out. And so, yeah, those are the guys. I mean, those are the main ones that we're going to be. And I got a bunch of young guys too. I got a couple of sophomores on the varsity and some other juniors I didn't mention that'll be helping us because the season's an evolution, right? You go through football season, we won't have DK or Joe, and then we get them, and hopefully we'll be able to play some tournaments with. My big thing is I want to put guys in a situation where I can play them extended minutes and still win. And if I can get guys 6, 7, 8 minutes in a row, maybe not 8, but and play through mistakes, that'll be key for DK and Joe and our young guys, our young guys like Jack last year and Harrison last year, we don't necessarily need them to get us 15 every night. We certainly need to have them ready for the following year. And that's one thing I think we did a good job of with Harrison and Jack last year is sometimes they played a lot, sometimes not very much, but they are ready for their junior seasons.
And that's what I liked about them, watching them play that one game. I watched him play 2 games at the TABC. In the first game, I watched him play, and just his confidence was, talking about Jack, his confidence was super high. And then you played your second game, and that was a tougher game for you guys. But his confidence didn't go down.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely didn't get what you wanted results wise, as far as from their output compared to the first game. But his confidence never dropped.
Yeah,
I want to commend him about that.
So here's how there's confidence and there's false confidence. One of the things I tell guys all the time is, if I said, Eric, if you have to take a quiz in math class and your teacher says, write your name, are you nervous that you're going to misspell that? And you'll say, well, of course not. Well, why? Well, because I've spelled it correctly 1,000,000 times.
Right.
That's where confidence comes from. Like if I've made this corner 3 1,000,000 times, if I go 0 for 3, I'm still going to shoot it because I've made it 1,000,000 times. If I go, because Jack went through a stretch, and and this is maybe one of the few times that I've gone off script as his dad. He had a stretch where over the course of the end of one game and halftime of the next game, and it might have been over 3 games, I forget, but he went 0 for 10 from 3.
Okay.
And I saw his confidence dip a little because the kids put pressure on themselves. They want to show out. I get that. And I told him, one of the things I was proud of you, I said, I was clear. I was like, I'm Coach Brewer now. One of the things that I was real proud of you about is you never stop doing things to help your team win. So I'd chart, the kids hate it. I'd chart everything in games. It's a lot, but it never changes. So they know what they're being held accountable for. You can remain a starter. You can remain a 25 minutes a night guy if you're going, 0 for 6 from 2 and 0 for 2 from 3. If you get into the free throw line, if you're getting rebounds, if you're getting deflections, if you are diving for loose balls, if you're taking charges, I don't care. We'll find buckets from somebody else, usually. And that one of the things that I made clear to Jack was you have to always be doing things to help your team win, and it ain't always shooting. I think sometimes we put too much emphasis on shooting is important, certainly. But you know what? How many guys do I need to score next year? 3. Right. I need 3 or 4 guys to score every night. Everybody else, if you're coming off the bench and you go 0 for 3, you're coming out. You're not the guy. Your role is going to change year to year. Right. But I try to be clear about roles and expectations. Even if you're not shooting it well, you're in the lineup if you're doing all the other things. So it's a lot for kids to take in, but I try to be real consistent with expectations. And if you're not shooting well, you're not shooting well. Who cares? Find a way. Find a way to help your team win. Don't turn it over. Communicate on defense. Box out. Take a charge. Get a deflection. And I think if you keep doing that, that's good. Now, at some point, like going back to what we talked about earlier, how do you get scoring consistency when nights that when we're not shooting the ball well deep, and I still haven't come to terms with how much we're going to rely on 3s versus 2s.
All right.
So that's part of it. We have had very few guys shoot 40% from 3. So that's I've come to I have a hard time saying we're going to shoot 25 threes a night, knowing full well that you're going to miss 17 of those. That's hard for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is. Especially the way y'all play, as far as y'all don't mind winning by 2 or 1. You're not one of the teams that want to blow everybody out. You're, like you said, hey, we stick to what our chart says, and hey, we play to it. So, yeah. So it kind of leads me to the second part of that, my first question in reference to the younger kids and just dealing with those guys and having them be part of, the Alamo way,
right?
Alamo Heights way. How involved are you with that to make sure those guys in the middle school, as they're coming up, they're going to be understanding what you expect and want from them, and then what you know is coming up. Like, hey man, you got some shooters, or you got some guys, just really tall and big. And
yeah. So what I try to do in our community is I like to let football have their time, and when we go to football games, we go support volleyball. And then when it's basketball season, I try to have a huge social media presence, and I try to get down to the junior high as much as I can, because I want Tuesdays and Fridays in the Mule Dome to be the night that our 11, 12, 13-year-olds schedule on their calendar for the 3 months of our season. So if it becomes one of the most important things in their lives and they go to games, my hope, and this is my philosophy, this is what I lived growing up in this community, is that if they're able, and this is harder and harder as the world changes, but we still kind of have a small town feel around here, that if they make the freshman team, which is very competitive, and they make the JV, it's very competitive. But then try to get them to come, and so that games at our gym are great environments, and so they'll stick with it, and they will endure, I guess is a good word. You and I both know that delayed gratification is makes, when you finally achieve something, it makes it really special. And I can get kids to, like I talked about Harrison Taylor and Jack Brewer, like they can stomach a year where they're not playing a ton.
Right.
And hopefully they'll stomach it. And that might be unique in 2025 to Alamo Heights. So many of our parents move here for the school, and they're invested in the school, and that it makes moving out of and moving into our district harder.
Yes.
That they're able to stick with it a little while longer. Kind of a throwback, kind of like it's a program.
Yes.
It's not a San Antonio All-Star team. It's a program.
Yes.
And I think that at your core, if you have 3 guys who love it, and I don't really just kind of throw that word out there, like I choose that word specifically, like you got to love it. You can't just kind of like it. If you just kind of like it, you might make the team, but we're not going to be talking about you like we talk about Matthew Munguia and Jeffrey Rodewald and Evan Karkanagas and Brandon John, and Tyler Glove, like the guys who've got us over the hump.
Yes.
As long as you got a couple guys who love it, you got a chance. And that's what I try to, because you can't fake this stuff, man. Like I love it, and this is part of me. I mean, I grew up here, so maybe I come at it from a different angle than some guys. Have you ever heard about Jay Billis, or seen Jay Billis talk to the guys at Duke about, he points to that D on his chest, and it's like it's different for him. And he's like, when I call Duke games, I got to be a professional, but I love it. I love here. I love Duke, and it's special for me. And listen, and I'll say it again. I'm blessed to you have a job that will move you to tears a couple of times a year, or makes you yell and scream or bang on a chalkboard. That's a special thing. And you're dealing with, teaching young men what it takes to be successful. And you got to put in the work, and phonies will be sniffed out. You'll sniff out a phony. But you gotta love it, and you got to go to work and perform when you don't want to. How I do it. That's how I promote it, as a goal, and I make it. And I'm real clear and I speak at the junior high parents meeting, and I say, and one of the things I've learned is if something is easy, then there's a psychology behind it. Like if it's easy, especially here, if it's exclusive and if it's hard to get, then you're only going to get the dogs. If it's easy, and I think you deal with this in football programs, you're always going to have your dogs in football, but you're also going to have guys who just kind of want to be with the fellas. But in basketball, I tell the parents, I'm going to keep 14 freshmen. I like to put 2 or 3 on the JV to kind of get them going a little quicker. And then when they become sophomores, it's going to be 10. And then when they become juniors, it's going to be 6 maximum. And then if I keep you the first week of school, junior year, you're mine. But you got to get from that 14 to that 6. And I think that's been really effective for me over the last 7 or 8 years is getting to a point I'm a human being and I hate cutting kids, but I also know that I got a job to do to have the best basketball program I can. And kids know that you might get cut. And then that changes their behavior in the spring and in the summer and in the fall. And it changes things. So they'll work harder. And that's been an important shift for me over the last several years, is cutting and keeping the roster small and saying that if you're on the varsity and you're a sophomore, I'll play you. My clear expectation for those kids is you're going to get minimum 6 minutes a night. Now, when it gets to late in district and playoffs, that's different. But I got 2 sophomores. I'm committed to giving them 6 minutes a night minimum, and then their role is going to change. And that's why it's important to have continuity. We don't have a bunch of move-ins or move-outs. But I think that's probably a lot of programs are built that way too, I think.
So this year, you guys were, had the opportunity to get into one of the newer districts, and I call y'all district the SEC, not because of the basketball SEC, but the football SEC, because I think it is one of the better districts. I think you guys, like we talked earlier, you're going to have 6 teams. I know it's an 18 district, but you're going to have 6 teams that all 8 can make it. But you got 6 front runners. What's your true thoughts on it now that you went through it 1 year? How do you feel? Was that the best move for you guys to actually go to this district versus stay in San Antonio? And how did it shape out?
Well, I was first and foremost scared to death. I'll be honest with you. When we're in SAISD, the goal was to win it. So we're in it. So we're in it for 2, Hill Country for 2, back in it for 2, and we over those 4 years we were in it, we won it twice and finished second twice. So that was our goal then, and then it rapidly shifted when realignment came out to we just got to get in, and I thought that 10-6 would get you in the playoffs. And so I'm going through the schedule. Like we got to get both. Got to sweep these, and then find 4 more somewhere else. And I feel like that was mostly true until we were 10-5 going into the last game of the year. And if we would have lost and Piper would have beaten Wagner, who'd already clinched the district championship, then we could have been out. So we had to beat Vets at home on senior night to guarantee a playoff spot. There's no doubt about it. I thought that we were prepared enough to in the playoffs coming out of SAISD. Right. But the big thing was the physicality. We were, I think, better prepared for the playoffs just because they're so physical. They may shoot it a little better in SAISD, and you had to face a little bit more trapping, run, and jump in SAISD. But we had 2 teams play nothing but zone, so that really helped us against Jay. We had to our zone stuff had to go up a notch because previously Bernie Champion had knocked us out of the playoffs 2 years in a row, and our zone stuff just wasn't good enough. And that was a philosophical shift. It was how we attack zones changed because, and we had to, because we knew we had to play 4 games in district against Bernie High and Champion, who played nothing but zone. So we had to kind of figure out how we're going to do that differently. That helped us a lot. And I'm going through the playoffs in my head. Rouse, we just beat. I won a flip and got a home game. And then we had to play Jay. But we were so prepared just because we had to play Bernie High and Bernie Champion, and our zone stuff we got so good at it. That really prepared us. So kind of like what I was saying earlier is, and I know I'm late to the game, but you got to play good people. You got to play good, athletic, long teams. We'd always played a variety of styles, and against the team, we played a variety of styles in non-district, but you got to combine that with talent and skill too. And the talent and skill we played against was better. When you put it all together, it was better than where we were in SAISD, which is nothing against those fantastic coaches and kids that play their guts out every night. But it did help us because we had that tough turnaround from playing Jay on a Saturday, had to play Ray and Corpus on a Monday, and we had to be tough. We had to be tough, and I was talking to Stan Leach about that, and longtime coach and Bernie ISD and the athletic director, and he goes, "Well, sometimes if you're not having success, those kind of districts kids can just be exhausted. And they just can be tired. Like if you go 8-8, you're like, man, we're just gonna have a banquet and say cheers and say nice things and give out awards and be done." That's the delicate thing that I try to be mindful of is how's the kids' energy level? When's it time for a day off? Like, because this is a rhetorical question. Like, are you going to have more days off? Are you going to give guys more days off when you're in this tougher district?
Right.
Or are you going to, or did you only play your starters for a half? And now we got to get up and down for 45 minutes in practice, 5-on-5, just to make sure they get their cardio. So there's different things to consider. And also then there's the part of it like, okay, if you're going to only play your top 7 against great competition, what do you do with the other 4 who aren't getting minutes to make sure in a moment's notice they're ready to go in and guard?
Right.
So you do have, that's why you got to have great assistants. And I've had the benefit of having fantastic assistants. My last 2 were veteran head coaches, and they can draw on years of experience as head coaches where I used to do this or I used to do that or think about this. And they made great suggestions, and we follow through on several of them to make sure that we are fresh, and they're kids. They got to be excited. You got to do things to make them excited about playing, because we know that it's short-lived, but they live minute to minute, and 2 weeks down the road can seem like an eternity. And so there's a lot that goes on into it, but the district, it made us better. To answer your question in very long-winded fashion, like it didn't make us better for sure.
A spin-off to that, what was your toughest home game last year, and what was your toughest road game?
So our toughest road game was definitely Piper. We had 2 guys that I thought were definitely the heart and soul of our team, our 2 main ball handlers, Matthew Munguia and Bo Tabor. And I swear to you, I need to go back and look at I'm not gonna look at the film. It was a nightmare, but we got down like 14-1, 14-2. And it was just one of those nights, we got there early. We had a shoot around. We were prepared. We knew what they were going to do. We knew who their guys were, but we just couldn't. They were thumping us. And then Matthew Munguia rolls his ankle, and the reaction that he gave, like, oh, he broke it. We're done. And in my mind, I'm like, the season is over. And we had to battle back, and I think we made it competitive down the stretch. Maybe cut it to 6 or something. But there was no doubt, like that's still the hill we haven't conquered, is we haven't beaten Piper. Played them 3 times now that it's been open, and that was the hardest because they had a good crowd.
Right.
They thumped us, and I thought our season might have been over at that point. I mean, you can make some changes and you can move guys around, but like Matthew was our guy. Like he ran the team.
Right.
So that was definitely the toughest road game. Because other road games, I felt like, Wagner, we were really in it, like till the end. They got ahead, but and then so then the toughest home game in district, there were a lot of memorable ones, like New Braunfels was tough at home, but Bo Tabor scored 23. He's not a big scorer for us. That was big. it had to have been, and this one stung. The losing to Bernie at home stung because I feel like I didn't anticipate this. This is something I learned is, and we talked about this earlier, when you play a team that's got football guys and you play them in December, you're like, oh, so-and-so, you know, that good. You know, they've been in the gym. I think the football guys have been in the gym for 2 practices. And then we played them 5 weeks later. And those kids were so much better. And I feel like I wasn't prepared for that. I underestimated how much better a kid can get if he's never in the gym. If he's in the gym for 5 straight weeks, how much better he can get. And so that stung a little bit. And Kimball McCone is a friend, and he runs a zone, and he didn't change matchups, but he changed where guys were on the floor. So Jack had 17 on them at their place, and then he moved a longer wing to Jack's side of the floor where Jack was playing. And Jack, even though he's 6'3" and long arms, he didn't get a clean look because he put his 6'3" on the wing, and so that was hard for me. I can live with it if we have a great plan and kids just miss shots. But when I feel like I didn't do everything I could for us to win, that stung. So people will say that we slept on the Greyhounds that night. They were not a playoff team, but if the season went on a month longer, they definitely would have been in, maybe. But that one stung because I feel like we could have locked up some. I don't recall. I felt we could have, and we should. I feel like we should have won. But you know, that's the thing. Is like Kimball Malone is. I don't know. Like he's coached. He's been to the state tournament at least 3 times.
Yes.
You know, and so like that's you know that's a lot of our identities. You know, spring break will be here. Like I'm going to coach my butt off until then. And I learned that, you know, no one's going to pack it in. No one's going to play out the string. And that is the SEC part of it that you alluded to. The, you know, that's the thing. It's like, you can't sleep on anybody because if you're having a great year, like look at this, like the thing about Rodney and Wagner, they had won the district championship, already had it clinched. Piper was fighting for a playoff spot. They are playing for, like, Mike Herrera is a competitor. Like they're going to give it everything. And there's no nights like that. You know, this is nothing against SISD, but it's like you're not going to play Fox Tech.
Right.
You know, you're playing Wagner or you're playing Piper, and they've got 2,000 students too. They got kids who want to play in college too. So good stuff.
And that's like, again, I'm not taking anything from any district, but I said it all last season. That district, I think the play that you guys gave each other, it's almost like you wear each other down a little bit. Yeah. You know, so if you do kind of, you know, stumble in, it's like, you're thinking like, okay, I can get started again. No, you're going right. If I'm correct, y'all went to up north, right?
For playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah, we played Rouse in the first round. And that, in hindsight, by the time we got to the state semifinals, we were tired. Yeah. And Matthew had banged his knee. Matthew hit his knee against John Jay, and he was never really right after that. We were just tired. And not that we would have won. I'm not saying that. I just think that, you know, like should we have taken a Saturday off here or there, or do you bring them up and just watch film, or is that taxing? Like what, you know? And also, like, my kids, and I've said it about these Alamo Heights kids, and because I'm so selective in the players we choose, a lot of times I pick the dogs, but they're not just dogs in the gym. Like these kids are, you know, my son takes nothing but AP classes. Right. So he's gonna. I had a player years ago say, "Coach, I understand that that you're going to maybe give us a day off or whatever, but you got to understand, like, I'm going to be up till 1 a.m. studying no matter what. Like, you know, if you cancel practice, it just means I'm going to start studying earlier." Right. I had a player go play at Caltech, and he's a super smart kid. And he said, okay, if you cancel practice, that's great, coach. That just means I'm going to study from, from 4:30 till 1 a.m. instead of 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. So,
Right.
that's got to take that into account too. And I felt guilty because, wanting to get to the gym early, I was pulling them out of class a lot because we're going
Right.
to the hill country, pulling out of class at 2:30 so they can be in the gym at 4 and shoot from 4 to 5 or 4 to 4:45 until the JV got on the floor. So you got to weigh all that stuff too. And that's Alamo Heights. So
We talked about it a little bit earlier in reference to non-conference games and preparing you for not just, the season of district, but also the playoffs. What non-conference games this year are you really looking forward to playing? Maybe some tournaments or things like that. Who are you, or what are you looking forward to for the upcoming season?
that's another thing that I take into account is I want my kids to be excited about, and I talk about it as, hey guys, so-and-so, their schedule changed or the district starting date changed. And so we got to find somebody else. We're going to host Westlake at home. So that'll be a special one. They're going to be even better. They got to, they're going to be,
Yes.
they're always good. So we'll have them at home. So the guys will be excited about that. And then we had a couple other teams drop because of schedules. And so we picked up the Hayes tournament. And so we'll go to Hayes and play lots of different people there. I kind of struggle with tournaments because if you're going to play 4 or 5 games over 3 days, I think the only thing you pick up in tournaments like that is, okay, this is an example of how we played attack the 1-3-1 or a 2-3 zone. The effort and the energy is not the same in a tournament as it is on a single game night. And we got that one. Taft is having a great summer. We open up with them again. So I guess those two will be the main ones that, and until then, it's all about reps in game reps, getting timing down on our sets, getting timing down and changing defenses and getting guys in and filling out those key positions and getting our football guys up to speed. So, and getting ready for, December 4th, 5th, 6th is when we start district. So it sneaks up on you real quick. It's not like we have a whole lot of time, a whole lot of games. I think we have either 4 or 5 non-district games. I can't recall off the top of my head. Then 3 tournaments again. So we always go to Lorena. It's a really good 4A program outside of Waco. It's not too far. We'll go to Hayes. And then we'll go back to the Harlandale tournament where we played Laredo Alexander and, Piper's in it, Champions in it. Hopefully we don't play them, but that's other good competition.
I'm going to shift gears just a little bit on you.
Sure.
I wanted to ask this question earlier and kind of saved it purposely. Playing or coaching behind or coaching with, let's say it that way, with 2 Hall of Famers in the high school, how did that prepare you as a younger man and a younger coach to just going in and coaching the way you coach? Like, did that help you? Did it hurt you? Did it? Because again, your first year, you're in the state tournament. So, how did it all get you ready for all of this? Because again, you had great success, coach. You can say yes or no, maybe. No, you had great success. I looked at your resume, man. You're one of the top guys in the city.
So thank you for saying that. So first and foremost, like we were loaded. We won 30 games the year before I took over, so we were loaded. I had the future ACC Defensive Player of the Year was going to be a sophomore so having Ben Lammers certainly helped. Now I'll say 2 things about that. Number one, all the things I was talking about with making getting the junior high guys excited about things and excited about playing basketball and making the Mule Dome a tough place to play. All that was what I learned from Charlie Bogus. But what I knew already, and I was 35 when I got the job, and I still had a lot to learn about myself and how I wanted to coach. But I did know this for certain, is that I had to be myself. There were certain things that Coach Bogus did that worked for him that I took away. And there are certain things and certain plays and certain drills and certain sets that I learned from him in 1993 that we still run. But a lot of it is you have to be yourself. And it's really hard. I'm going to tell you what, like, it's hard to get started. You don't want to be the guy who follows the guy. You want to be the guy who follows the guy who followed the guy. But you weren't going to convince me otherwise. Like, I wanted this job bad. And it's hard. Fortunately, we had some success. But what I had to do in the first 5 or 6 years was I had to come to terms with my philosophy, and I had to come to terms with how I wanted to be successful here, the message that I could be transparent with and send through the community. Like, I had to be real clear. And you're never really ready to be a head coach. I think you're as ready as you can be. Then you got to fall on your face a little bit, and you have to lick your wounds, and you have to reflect and say, well, I didn't handle that great. I didn't handle that great, or this was working well, or this is what I'm going to implement. And this is the way these are the standards I'm going to hold is accountable to. So, it certainly helped. I worked under David Peavy, and then I worked under Charlie Bogus, and those guys were themselves. And that's why they're successful, is they weren't trying to be somebody else. Kids will sniff out a phony. Yeah. And say, like, you can't say it a lot, but when it's really kind of apparent, like, guys, that's on me. But also say, like, and I get pushback sometimes on my philosophy, and I try really hard not to be, as I'm closing in on 50, I don't want to be the old guy who never changes, but you also have to be firm in your convictions and figure out the things that are great. And then there'll be a time when I'll run my course, and I'll be okay with that. But until then, you have to be firm in your convictions, and you got to be clear, and you got to be transparent. And then everything you do is defensible. Like, if you've been transparent, you've been clear with expectations, and a kid doesn't play, you can argue that I'm unreasonable, but you can't ever argue that I misled you in any way. Talking about parents and students.
Oh, yeah.
Parents, players, admin, all those things. But this is a place that it can be hard, but once you figure it out, the admin and the parents are incredibly supportive, because it's important to win here. This is our little small town. We want to be good in everything. We want to be good in all the sports, and so you're gonna get all the support you need to be supportive. So,
and talking about changes, what were your thoughts this year on the new? Because not only did you guys move to a new district, we have the new change for the playoffs in reference to small and big. What's your thoughts on that?
So, it was really hard to plan. When you get to the second round of district, you want to maybe start scouting or gathering film on who you're going to play in the playoffs. So you don't really know, because we don't divide up big and small until you qualify for the playoffs. Then you rank them too big and too small. So that was tricky. I'm going to tell you one thing I didn't like, and I'll get a little personal. Like, I've been going to the state tournament since the first time I went. I was a freshman in high school, and Alamo Heights lost in the state championship game to Port Arthur Lincoln. And to tell you I was hooked at that point is an understatement. This is what I was going to do. And then I had a son, and he started liking basketball. Then the dream is to coach, for me, was to coach my son in the state tournament. And the Lord works in funny ways. Like, I got to coach my kid in the state tournament in Goliad, Texas.
Yeah.
And I've said it a million times, the people in Goliad were incredible to us. They rolled out the red carpet. It's a great gym.
Yes.
And our crowd came out, but it's not the Irwin Center. Obviously. Right. It's not the Alamo Dome.
Yep.
So all I got to do is win a game.
There you go.
We got to win a game, then we'll get to the Alamo Dome. So I didn't like that. I mentioned earlier that we played Corpus Christi Ray in the regional semifinals.
Yes.
And so we played that on a Monday. I was able to scout Liberty Hill in the regional semifinals, and they played in a tiny gym. I think it was in Ingleside, Texas. And Eric, they brought 50 fans, and there's no more regional tournament.
Right.
The regional tournament was awesome. We played in it at Blossom and played in it at Northside Gym. And you
Yes.
get a Valley team, you get a San Antonio team, and you get basketball fans from down there, and they want to see San Antonio basketball. So even if they lose on a Friday, they'll come back on a Saturday, and it's a special feel.
Yes.
And that was, I don't know if maybe tragic's too strong of a word in light of what happened over the 4th of July, but it was just kind of sad and anticlimactic is probably a better word. It was just that wasn't great. Now people will say, well, Coach Brewer, if it didn't break up into big and small, then we would have had to play Corpus Christi Vets, and that's you got to avoid them. You got to avoid Corpus Christi Vets. I'm like, well, we beat John Jay, and so we beat Liberty Hill. So like, I don't know if that we beat two really good teams to get the stage. I don't like it. It's not going away. I'm on the Texas High School Coaches Advisory Committee, and like that's not going away because the head of the UIL, Ray Zapata, does a great job, and he's really emphatic that he wants more access to state championships to more teams. So Texas is a huge state, and he wants 12 state champions. He's going to get 12 state champions. So that's not going to go away. But yeah, and I think everything changes, right? Good old day syndrome is, the Alamo Dome is not the same as the Irwin Center. Well, Alamo Dome is more special than where a lot of people had to play. So, and also the state tournament, it's not even a tournament anymore. You're watching 12 games, and you don't get to see teams twice, and so it's different, and but it's challenging, and that's that is invigorating. New challenges are invigorating. So we'll move on, and everybody's heart's in the right place at the UIL and everything else. It does make it more taxing because, now you have to get on the phone with opposing coaches for each round of the playoffs, and you got to pick officials, you got to pick a gym, you got to pick balls, you got to pick uniforms, you got to pick shoot around time. Whereas before is once you got to regionals, UIL just told you what to wear, where to show up.
Right.
They did everything for you.
Right.
So that was nice. But now you got to do it all. And some people are some other coaches are very easy to deal with. Some are very particular about what they want, and that can be taxing. And then I can screw things up. I mean, I can miss several flips, and like I did, and have to play John Jay on a Saturday, and I lost the flip. We had to play on Monday in Corpus. And so sometimes coaches need to be protected from themselves. I certainly did. Yeah, so that's another thing but as you do it more and more and more, you get better at it. And Ron Ritteman, my athletic director, was a great help at kind of guiding me through that. He's been in a million playoff games. And so don't forget about this. And when you're tired and you're stressed and you're anxious and worried, it's nice to have veterans, well-rested veterans, maybe you're out of season, who can kind of help. Don't forget about this. Don't forget about that. What about this? Right. What time are you going to leave? Little things like, what time are you going to leave? On the bus, you want to make sure you get there well before, and what are you going to eat? All that kind of thing. So, no, I don't love it. I don't love the way it's going now, but it ain't changing. So live with it.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I got one more question for you. Then I'll ask you to give us, one of your fun fact about yourself. But my last question is, you had a lot of success. Again, like I said, you're one of the winningest coaches down here in San Antonio, excuse me. And so with saying that, what do you accredit that to?
It's not brains. I was texting with a friend who just recently won an award. And I said, man, you're big time. And she says, no, I just work really hard. And I responded to her when I was in high school, and I don't even know if it's true, but I believe it's true. Larry Bird said, I believe if you give 100%, 100% of the time, things normally work out for you in the end. And that's kind of how I was, a B student, and not great test scores, but I love basketball and I work my butt off. And I think if that's the way you approach it, then things will normally work out. If you just give 100%, 100% of the time, that's no bad days, right? You can be in a bad mood. And I tell my kids this, like, if you don't study for that Spanish test because you're up playing 2K, and you do a bad job on the Spanish test and you're upset or stressed because your parents are going to fuss at you, you're going to bring that to practice.
Yes.
And then we're going to have a bad day of practice. And that's kind of the way happy wife, happy life. Good. Did I do the dishes? Good. Did I do everything I was supposed to do around the house? Good. Now I can compartmentalize. Now I can be at practice and hopefully do a great job and be prepared. So that's what I attribute it to. But I've also been blessed. My parents moved here in 1986 from New Orleans, and I played for Charlie Bogus, and that God put me here for a reason, and hopefully through all my wild competitiveness and my weird idiosyncrasy, my weird nature, hopefully I'm helping kids become young men. Because here's the thing: these Alamo Heights kids are going to be okay. They're going to be fine. But what can I teach them about toughness and dealing with adversity? And because it doesn't matter what kind of parents you have, like, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a boss you don't like. You're going to have a fight with your wife. You're going to have things that don't go your way. How are you going to respond in those moments? Because life is about adversity, and everybody's adversity is different. I'm not saying ours is harder or easier than anyone else's, but hopefully I can help our kids, with our boys, with that.
Okay, well, hey, there you go. Give us a fun fact, Coach. Give us something that no one knows. No one knows.
Fun fact. So I don't know. I don't know if it's fun fact. I think it's humorous. People think, wow, you're 6'6" and you're a basketball coach. You must have been a hell of a player. Where did you play in college? And I got to check them. And I said, you understand, my career high at Alamo Heights High School was 8 points on 4 offensive rebound putbacks against the Roosevelt Rough Riders on December 21st, 1993. So people, I remember that night vividly because it was my baby sister's birthday.
Okay.
And she took the kid. We're at Blossom Athletic Center. And boy, I got 4 offensive rebound putbacks because Coach Bogus said, Brewer, you can't play a lick. Just go to the backside and get an offensive rebound putback. And I was playing against Jimmy Fred Littleton, against a really good Roosevelt team. And I got 4 offensive rebound putbacks. My career high is 8 for the Mules.
There you go. Hey, there you go, Coach. That's good stuff, man. Hey, man, but no, seriously, thank you for allowing me to spend this time with you, letting not just the community know more about you, but the city know more about you. I think that's important because a lot of the people see you guys around. They don't really know that much about you guys and how much you really give back to your community. So I thank you for giving this time, and I want to make sure they know.
No, thank you so much for what you do for all the young men and high school basketball in San Antonio. You guys make it fun. You guys, these kids, it makes them feel special.
Yes.
When they interview you and they take pictures of you, man. I tell you what, man, it doesn't. They think you guys are the greatest, and we appreciate all the love you give and support and the attention you put on high school basketball in San Antonio.